Okay, picture this. You're at one of those super fancy dinners at the Davos Summit. You've got world leaders, CEOs. You can just feel the power in the room. And then, all of a sudden, a voice just cuts through all the noise. It's the American Commerce Secretary, and he is shouting, just ripping into his European counterparts for investing in what he called big fans and mirrors.
Yeah, that's a direct quote. Now, you might think, okay, just a heated argument, maybe a little too much wine. But here's the thing. The sources we're breaking down today argue this was way bigger. This was the first shot fired in a new global energy war. It's a massive clash of worldviews with trillions of dollars and the future of global power hanging in the balance.
So what are we really talking about here? Is this just some simple disagreement over energy policy? Or are we watching the opening moves in a fight for who's going to dominate the 21st century? All right, let's dive in and really unpack the two competing strategies that are shaping our world right now.
So first up, we've got the American strategy. This is all about traditional, old-school power. It's basically a 19th century playbook with a very simple, almost brutal idea at its core. If you control the energy tap, you control the world. The fancy term for this strategy is the hegemony of scarcity. But the logic is pretty simple, really. Oil and gas. There's only so much of it, right? It's finite. So if you can become the world's main supplier, the godfather, as the source material puts it, then every other country on Earth depends on you. You can turn the tap on for your friends, and you can turn it right off for your enemies. It's power in its most raw physical form. And this isn't just some theory, right? According to the sources, you can see it in action with the recent seizure of Venezuela's huge, heavy oil fields. We're talking about a $100 billion asset. But think about what that means. An asset that massive only pays off if the world stays desperate for oil. And that, right there, is the core of this whole strategy. See, for that $100 billion bet to actually work, the entire green energy transition has to fail. It just has to. If countries start switching over to solar and wind, these massive oil reserves become what economists call stranded assets. They're literally just worthless holes in the ground. And that explains all the public mocking of wind turbines and solar panels. For this strategy to win, the world has to stay addicted to fossil fuel. Okay, so that's one playbook. But across the Atlantic, a completely different game is being played. The US is basically offering Europe this energy gift pack, right? Cheap oil, cheap gas. The only catch? They have to give up on green energy. Well, Europe is looking at this gift and they see it for what it is: poison.
So you might be asking, why on earth would Europe reject this deal? I mean, cheap gas sounds pretty good, right? Well, let's just look at the numbers. For factories in the US, natural gas comes right out of a pipeline. It's cheap. But for that exact same gas to get to a factory in Europe, it has to be frozen into a liquid, put on a giant ship, sailed across the ocean, and then turned back into a gas. That whole process means it is always going to be 3 to 4 times more expensive for European industry, always. But that price difference is really just the start. The sources we looked at point to 3 huge reasons why Europe sees this offer as a trap. First off, it's economic suicide. If your energy is always more expensive than your competitors in America, your industries are just going to get strangled permanently. Second, something called path dependency. Europe has already poured trillions into green infrastructure. Their systems are literally losing the ability to even process the kind of heavy, high-sulfur oil that's being offered. And third, and this is the really big one, especially after what happened with Nord Stream 2, is true sovereignty. They've learned the hard way that real security isn't about choosing who you buy your oil from. It's about not having to buy it from anyone at all. You can't put the sun on a ship. You can't hold the wind hostage. So you've got this epic battle raging, old world oil versus new world green energy. But while all that's going on, a completely different player just walked onto the field and is changing the rules of the game entirely. That player, artificial intelligence. And it's making everybody rethink what energy even means in the 21st century. At that very same Davos summit, Elon Musk dropped this little bombshell. He argued that for years, everyone's been obsessed with who can make the best computer chips for AI. But he said the real bottleneck, the actual thing that's going to limit how fast AI can grow, isn't chips anymore. It's just raw electricity. The demand for power from AI is about to go vertical, and the winner in that race is going to be whoever can make that power the cheapest. And this is where things get really, really interesting, because it completely reframes the whole debate.
In the old world, energy is a resource. You dig it out of the ground. Its value is based on scarcity, and its control is all about geography and politics. But in the new world of green tech, energy isn't something you dig up. It's a product you manufacture. Solar panels, batteries, that's technology. And what does technology do? Well, it follows Moore's law. It gets better and it gets cheaper, year after year after year.
And this really brings us to the core conclusion from the source material. You can try to control a pipeline. You can try to control a shipping lane. But what you cannot do is capture and control the laws of physics and the exponential progress of technology.
The sources use this really powerful analogy to nail the point. They say the oil-based strategy is like an old-world woodsman. He's the master of the axe and the saw, and he's standing in the forest, cursing the invention of the electric light bulb. His skills are becoming obsolete, not because he's a bad woodsman, but because the entire technological world has just shifted from underneath his feet.
So the big takeaway here is this. Europe's current high energy prices, they aren't a sign of failure. The sources argue that what we're seeing are the difficult, expensive, but absolutely necessary growing pains of retooling an entire continent for a brand new era, an era where energy is abundant, cheap, and totally sovereign.
And that leaves us right here with the central conflict of our time. The question this whole explainer has been building up to: will the future belong to the master of the tap or the master of the tech? So what do you think? Who's going to define global power in the years to come? The folks who control the oil wells or the ones who build the solar panels? Let us know what you think down in the comments. And for more explainers like this one that break down the big forces shaping our world, make sure you subscribe.